Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to Savona. My name is Byron Noble and I'll be the organizer for the session. And with me today is Brendan Reynolds, the Executive Director of ALPSA, Adrian Mayberg, the President of ALPSA, and Steve Van Zyl, who is the Technical Manager of ALPSA. I have a short video I'd like to play just by handing over to our presenter.
Not knowing anything about electricity can be shockingly scary, especially when your work is affected by it. Apex Electrical Consulting's accredited trainer presents a practical and safety guide to geyser replacements course to help you become a safer installer in your own field of expertise. Visit www.iopsatraining.co.za to book your online course today, now with a 10% discount. Offer valid 10 to 23 April 2023.
That's it from my side, and I'd like to hand over to our presenter.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning to all our listeners. Sorry, Brendan, you can
I'd like to welcome you to this feedback session. It probably would have been more fitting if you were able to share the sounds and the experience that we had in Frankfurt in Germany, but we had to share with you the 5 inspiring and successful days that we had in Frankfurt, packed with innovation. Everybody brought their A game to this whole trade show, expert knowledge. Every stand had their own professionals or had their own expert in that specific field. Exciting events, personal encounters, there were then too, and topics that moved the industry across the globe. It really was an eye-opener just being there and sharing the whole experience.
So morning, guys. From my side, just some stats about the actual trade fair. So ISH is the largest trade fair for plumbing and HVAC in the world. There's about 44% of the attendees that come from international countries all over the world, and 72% of those exhibitors are also from all over the world. So it's literally the whole world that comes together to talk about plumbing. About 153,000 visitors. I can tell you that the stands were absolutely packed. It was unbelievable the amount of people that were there. There's over 2,000 exhibitors at the ISH trade exhibition. And as you can see there on the screen, about 1,400 of those are from all over the world. It's not just from Germany. And I think for us, that in itself was an eye-opener. You know, this is 300,000 square meters just covered by plumbing, sanitary ware, tools, HVAC, heating and cooling, that sort of thing. So, you know, if any of you ever get the opportunity to attend ISH, it certainly will open your eyes as to how big the international market is and all the sort of things that are available in the international market. Over to you, Steve.
Right, Brendan, thank you very much. Yeah, it was an extreme eye-opener. I mean, the amount of digital, it was incredible to see the amount of product at the trade fair. A lot of the product, as you can read in the heading there, is electronic plumbing components. And somehow everything was connected to some sort of smart technology or smartphone. And I think of that, I'm thinking about my phone. Tools were connected, bars, showers, and taps. And there was just a sheer amount of electronic components all over the show. And, you know, from touching, little touch, as soon as you go towards it, it automatically opens and closes. And you know, the thing that I left with was, you know, we need to improve our knowledge of electronics and the things of the future and the things of the internet that are coming at us. And yeah, it was just digital all the way, especially in the plumbing components section. It was definitely one of the standouts for me.
Okay, as far as the whole theme around ISH was, talk of the day was sustainability. it should be no surprise that this was a recurring theme, and it really was in almost every single conversation or exhibit or stand somewhere. Sustainability was discussed, from the way that products are manufactured, the packaging of the material, the actual tooling that was used, to the installation methods, the consumption of water and energy, the absolute conservation of both water and energy. I think every manufacturer and most of the attendees went out to outshine each other and to outperform each other when it came to environmentally friendly products. Key importance for us at this stage is that it would appear that the world is moving away from ceramics. They are due to the high energy demands during production. The mere fact that you have to bake and you have to glaze over and work with these different products has meant that a lot of the manufacturers have moved to new composite materials. They're taking over. It gives them freedom in molding. It gives them a whole lot of, or it gives them a whole new approach to the manufacturing of these sanitary fixtures. 4.5 liter flush is the new normal. There were 1 or 2 prototypes or 1 or 2 new designs on toilets and that went even lower than that. But conserving water, in other words, not using it to flush toilets, the 6 liter systems would appear to be old fashioned at the moment. PVC as a manufacturing material, completely out for wastewater. The green has crept into just about everything, from the actual manufacturing of the sanitary ware, the piping, the tooling, the whole setup. So as far as the drainage, they were well represented as well, wastewater, even stormwater, the grids in that, they're all composite materials being used. And then one of the biggest things for me that I saw was that the soldering of potable water pipes in Europe has now been banned. They don't use cockle type fittings or capillary type fittings at all anymore. And not only in Europe, but in many other parts of the world, crimping or press fit fittings are the ones that have been, or that were highlighted and that were actually made out or made to stand out amongst all the new technology.
Adrian, I think we've got a little video that I'm going to try and share with our listeners to show them a toilet that works on the 4.5 liter flush. I'm going to just quickly play it so that we can just share some of that exciting technology. So maybe just to add on to that, Adrian, that toilet, as you can see where the water comes out in the top little right-hand corner, there's a little section, and it causes a bit of a vortex, and that vortex just spins and spins and spins and basically fulfills the function of moving all those little balls that are part of a test standard out of the system very effectively. And I think that was exactly 4.5 liters when we posed the question to the actual exhibitor. Thank you very much. Sorry, Adrian, anything else on the slide?
No, 100%. I can go to the next one.
So yeah, one of the interesting things that we saw, we thought we were at a 1980s retro party when we got into the sanitary ware and tap sections, because as you can see from the screen here, color is back. I think most of us were quite happy to see the back of color, and because of all the challenges that come with trying to match different colors and that sort of thing. But particularly with the new type of materials that are being used, it has allowed manufacturers to get quite creative in terms of the colors that they can use. So back when they were just using ceramics, like we know, it was quite difficult to get certain colors and to get the colors quite right. But with the new composite type materials, it's given them a world of options, and designers and architects and those sort of things seem to be quite excited by all these new types of designs that are available. So you can see the things on the screen there, but every single color that you can think of was available, mix and match. But this we saw everywhere. Color was everywhere. Not only colors like this, but also finishes like brushed stainless steel and different types of chrome and gold finishes. All these sort of things seem to be coming back. So I think we need to just get ourselves ready and start thinking about how this is going to impact us, because we will start seeing this. We will start seeing interior designers and architects and even homeowners wanting to get in on the new fashion. So colors coming back, guys.
Well, at this stall, I felt like a child in a toy shop. Modern tooling and equipment, a massive, massive hall, just filled with tools. And I can really say tools have undergone a revolution. There's a big focus on high-end or high-quality tools to reduce the time on site, to make jobs a bit more efficient or effortless, and really making just freeing up the time by making use of such tools. We saw things like heavy lifting objects or equipment that can lift heavy objects, to pipe maintenance of every sort. Some of there's new installations and testing tools, and it was endless. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the stuff linked to a smartphone, so you can leave equipment on site and you'd be able to get a report on things like pressure, off sites, and just by looking at your phone. We saw fancy cars. If you look at the bottom left-hand side, the bottom left picture shows a vehicle that we were looking at, and it had everything inside there, every kind of tool, even, could generate electricity through normal PV panels on the roof. It was just, super, super exciting to look at all the tools available. But these tools all have one thing in common, and as I said, it's to reduce the time and amount and labor needed to do a job. And I left this hall just thinking that, the right tool, as my dad always says, for the right job just makes perfect sense. We spent actually a lot of time in this hall, just mind blowing as to what's available. Top left-hand picture, a lot of the tools also have works just on battery operated, so no long cords and cord and then power that you need from the grid. An exciting store with a lot of technology behind it, and it's on its way, and it's in a very, very exciting space. Like I said, I was super excited being in this hall.
Yeah, if I can just jump in there, Steve, and just add something on that, what you were just saying. And it wasn't just directly plumbing tools, but there were also a lot of types of tools and equipment to assist in lifting, in carrying heavy objects, in just, if you look at that van down the bottom there on the left-hand side, just about efficiency and doing things in the most efficient and effective way. So one of the things that we also saw was that in a lot of these countries, that a plumber operates completely on their own. They don't have assistants. They don't have 2 or 3 people riding around in the van with them, because they've got the right equipment to do the job properly, and they've got all their materials and everything they need in the back of the van, nice and neat, easy to access. Even things like big screen TVs within those vans that can connect to drain cleaning equipment and that sort of thing. So really, it's all about doing the job quickly, effectively, and efficiently, without any additional labor, and finding effective ways of doing things. Thanks.
I must say, guys, I feel a lot less guilty now that I hear that I wasn't the only one that got excited about those tools. Yes, it's absolutely magic when you look at what can be done. And the stall next to that was all about fixation. So there were about 150 different ways to fix a pipe, to an I-beam, an angle line, a frame, etc., etc. So these guys literally pulled out all the stops. But the big thing as far as this issue was concerned is that for those of you who are not aware, in Europe, they're having an issue with gas and oil at the moment. So government's taken a decision that they need to do retrofitting of heat pumps all over the place. So the sheer number of heat pump exhibitors and the number of people in those stands was absolutely mind-blowing. To put it in perspective, there were 12 halls, and the 12th one, or the one with the heat pumps, all the levels were filled with different manufacturers from different parts of the world, all displaying these miracle heat pumps. The demand for heat pumps is so incredible, and the pace of the technological advancement in heat pumps is phenomenal. It is the units that are there. When you look at what was introduced into South Africa as a heat pump, the roles or the actual functioning of those units have changed altogether. It would appear that the world has decided that this would be the best solution, and everybody is investing in a big way. I can't remember the exact numbers, but most of the bigger manufacturers are investing millions and billions into their factories and plants, making sure that they can not only produce but stock. It's a mind-blowing. I think Brendan did the calculation. I think it was 1,300 or 1,600 heat pumps that need to be installed every single day of the year, without exception. That's how big a target that the European Union have set the governments. And to give you an idea that with the gas that's there, they've actually started experimenting. As you can see there, 20% hydrogen is to cut down on the gas consumption. They've actually started working on the hydrogen component that they can add into the existing gas lines that they have to cut down on the actual natural gas being used. I must say this was by far the most popular hall. And to give you an idea, it was so difficult to take pictures and to actually just stop. It was like being swept up. You can see in the top right-hand corner the vast amount of people walking around there. You stop to take a photo, and it's almost as if this current of people moving along, looking at everything, just sweeps you along. So you've got to jump out, stand next to the heat pump, and move into that. It was phenomenal. It was huge.
Just to add on to what Adrian was saying, everywhere that we went and everybody that we spoke to was talking heat pumps. And it's part of this whole drive towards sustainability, but also Europe trying to get, as Adrian said, off the gas. But I think, we're starting to see a little bit of a wave with heat pumps in South Africa. But worldwide, we're talking about the US, Ireland, the UK, the whole of Europe, Australia, New Zealand, everybody was just talking about heat pumps. So this is a massive, massive trend. It shocked and surprised us how huge it was. And I think really as South Africans, we need to get ready because this is coming in a big way. It might take a couple of years for this wave to break in South Africa, but it is definitely coming. And particularly with the issues we're having with electricity, I think we need to prepare ourselves. Heat pumps are coming in a very big way. When we talk about skills, this was also another very big topic. So worldwide, there is a shortage of skilled and qualified plumbers and experienced plumbers. Massive, massive, massive shortage. But when we talk about plumbers, it's the same as in South Africa. There's not a shortage of labor. There's not a shortage of unskilled people to do these kinds of works. What the whole world is absolutely desperate for is highly skilled, highly experienced plumbers that know how to work with these new technologies. Because the same as what's happening in South Africa is nobody is really ready for the pace at which the change is happening. And so everybody is looking for highly skilled people. In particular, just going back to the previous slide with heat pumps, that is a massive challenge. In Germany, you can wait up to 6 months for a heat pump, and the guys are charging 300 euros just to come and do a quote, just a quote, 300 euros. A full heat pump installation with underfloor heating and centralized heating, full system, will cost you now between 60 and 80,000 euros. So if you work that out, we're looking at about R1 million+ for an installation, and that's because there's a shortage, because there's a lack of supply, both from the actual heat pump side, but also, more importantly, of skilled people that are able to install these things properly. And the same goes for a lot of these things. There's new piping systems, there's new methods of installing things, there's all different types of new products that are entering the market at a massive rate. So, you know, I think we've been beating this drum for a long time of saying that, you know, when you receive your qualification, many guys think, well, now I'm done. You know, I've got my red seal and that's it, I'm done. It can't work like that anymore, because there's no way that the curriculum for plumbers can keep up with the changes in the industry. And we all need to get into the habit of lifelong learning. And this we saw everywhere, and all the different countries that we spoke to, the same thing came out, is that these new products and technologies are going to enter our market, and they need installers or plumbers that are qualified and that know how to install these products, because otherwise they're not going to work properly. So one of the big takeouts from this is definitely lifelong learning. We've got to keep investing in ourselves. We've got to keep learning. We've got to keep upskilling. We've got to keep being curious, because, you know, the fact that you know how to work with galvanized pipe doesn't mean that that you'll be able to effectively work with some of these new piping systems that are coming out. We really need to get ready for it. So opportunities across the world, if you're highly skilled and you know what you're doing, but also just in our own domestic market, these products are going to arrive, and we've got to know what we're doing with them.
Okay, there you can see the World Plumbing Council, or the representatives from the World Plumbing Council sitting there at the screen. We were privileged enough to actually attend. You can see on those two big screens at the back, there were a number of delegates that attended online. Some very interesting discussions along the way, from the water efficiency, being the various, that gentleman in the bottom corner there was Viessmann. They are one of the bigger gas and heat pump manufacturers, and he indicated the sheer volume of numbers of manufacturing and how they needed to get this whole system sped up to comply with the actual requirements. But back to our attending, amazingly, the same message ran through this meeting like the rest of the conference, like a solid thread. Save water and energy everywhere. It is on everybody's minds. It's not South Africa is a dry country. The same issues they have in the US, UK, Europe, all over the show. It is all about saving water and energy. And then, like Brendan mentioned, they upskill the industry in order to cope with what the future holds. It's one thing that come across there was a gentleman from Ireland. He represented their trade union. He was on about the fact that once they qualify, the guys have to do night classes. They have to do extra overwork. I think at the moment our plumbers on the NQF level 4, with them it's basically a level 6, because they expect the guys to, once they qualify, to then further themselves and continuously improve their skills to be able to deliver what is required there. like I said, the good, and Brendan also mentioned, the good news for South Africa is that the same problems we experience here, it's not unique to us. It's not a South African thing. It's not an African thing, but in Europe, UK, USA, we all have similar challenges. Hence the value of some of these new connections we were able to make there and find out how they operate. I know I've seen some of the emails fly. Steve has already made contact with some of these guys wanting more information, how we can get on board with what they're doing. In closing, I'd just like to say that the one major thing that we all agreed on at that World Plumbing Council is that we need to uplift the plumber. Not necessarily someone else uplifting the plumber needs to uplift himself as well, but uplifting the plumber in general so that we can end up in our rightful place, being acknowledged for the contributions to our societies across the globe. People used to look down at plumbers, and now they're realizing that with the energy crisis and with water crisis, they actually need to get us on board. They need to get to appreciate the plumber for what we can provide for them. And I think that just taking that away from the World Plumbing Council meeting in general, having been part of this international meeting, that everybody agreed on the same thing.
Our final leg of the visit, we ended in a place in Germany called Münster, where we spent 2 days. I'm going to quickly just try and talk to the pictures that you see in front of you from the top left. Just a big thank you to Mr. Frank Tischner, the CEO of Krans Hanswerke, the head of international projects, Eike Dichter, and colleagues Max, who arranged a fully packed agenda for us in Münster. Some of the stuff that we did in Münster in that agenda was visiting the Krans Hanswerke workshop in Rhine. I want to say, wow, it was the importance and the value. And Adrian, you're 100% right. The value for qualified tradespeople is just amazing and in such demand. You can see us, the second picture moving from left to right. You can see us standing around some of the workbenches and just visiting the various trades that where training happens at the Krans Hanswerke. The far right-hand picture there is we visited a plumbing business. I think it was a second or third generation plumbing business. They're called Villas. Once again, we met up, we had a Q&A session, and in fact, we had a tour of the business. It was very, very exciting to see how they operate. I think they have, I think it was about 40 vehicles that are out on the road, and it's similar to those vehicles that Brendan and I were referring to earlier, fully kitted, all the tools, one plumber going out to do the job, maybe with one assistant, and it was really an awesome experience, very, very warm welcome. Then if you look at the bottom left-hand picture, you can see it's all in German, but it's actually a newspaper article, but we were at the Bosch Training Center, which basically showcased their technology, and they also emphasized the importance of training and upskilling plumbers as the technology advances within their own space. You know, the only thing I want to say is when we were at the Bosch Center, you could ask a question like, tell me a little about a point of use, and the guy would say, just one moment, and he'd run off and quickly go and actually fetch the box, open the box, and then would start explaining about the product. Truly an eye-opener how they do training. And I must say, I think we asked a lot of questions, and they opened several boxes. I think we must have impressed them, and probably that's why we got into the newspapers for all those questions. The bottom, just right to that picture of the newspaper, you'll see we're sitting around a boardroom, and that stop was at the Energyland 2050. And the talk around that boardroom table was focused around sustainable future for all. The importance of protecting our valuable resource. Water was on the lips of everyone, and Adrian was right. It's sustainability, responsibility, taking care of the climate. I must say that, you know, we asked some questions like, do we also have droughts and floods? And we explained that, yes, you know, we're having some major floods in some areas and droughts in others. And you know what? It's a fact that climate change is a reality. I want to mention that walking out of that meeting, I felt inspired and kept asking myself, what could I do more? What am I doing enough to make a difference? And how can I contribute more to a greener, sustainable world? The last picture on the bottom right was a visit to TECE, and we were really privileged to visit a production factory of sanitary and plumbing components. Wow, the state-of-the-art technology is what I saw. Once again, I must say, in that boardroom meeting, what stood out for me was that production factory had such value on the professional plumber, and the way they view the professional plumber is almost like key to their business. The quality of installations is important, because if you're installing my product with a professional plumber, man, that will bring honor to my brand. Those were keywords that came out of that discussion at TECE. And overall, man, what an amazing experience. We were running from one meeting to the next, but spent quality time. We asked a lot of great questions, built a lot of good relationships, and just left with the thought of, wow, the plumber is so critical and so important, and the continuous upskilling is just key to everything.
Well, guys, from our side, it's always like when we give feedback in sessions like this, it's always tough to make it within time. We could probably have spent another hour or two talking about all that we saw, and the different products and the different trends in the world, but we're limited for time. So just from myself and my colleagues, I'd like to thank you very much for attending today. And I hope you got some value out of this. I know it was short and sweet, but we hope that you guys have a great week and a successful week. Thank you so much for attending.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, everyone.
Thank you and have a blessed week.